Hi, this is Janos, it's Real World Audio, and I'm continuing on the drivers for the LePetit speaker project. And Hugo wrote a really nice comment, and he is giving a good case for 3-inch speakers for the LePetit project. So I think you all might have noticed that I have recommendations for the LePetit cabinet with 4-inch, 4.5-inch to 5-inch, not as much, but 4.5-inch drivers are the ones that I recommended. 5 is kind of, I think I might have recommended 1 or 2, but 4 to 4.5, that's my recommendation, and I did not recommend any 3-inchers. And why is that? And Hugo is saying that you either religiously stick to TLS small parameters or not. So basically, he's mentioning that because when I reviewed the drivers, I paid a lot of attention to the TLS small parameters. However, there was some I did not actually. I have to expand the picture to much bigger. In all, I don't care at all about the TLS small parameters. There are some of them which I take as a guidance because they will predict whether something will work at all or fail. The telesmall system is really a system that's based on predictions. It's a model. It does not describe reality. And yes, Hugo is absolutely right here that you cannot make telesmall your religion because reality is not what the TS parameters predict, and this is what a lot of builders are finding out very, very painfully when they build their loudspeaker projects, is that they have a cabinet that's based on the TLS small parameters. They designed it with a computer aid, and it's perfect on the computer, and when they put the drivers in, they have a very big surprise because it sounds absolutely terrible. So that has several reasons. I have several videos about that issue. I don't really want to go into that now, but it's kind of a warning that the TLS-more parameters on paper before you purchase the driver really mean very, very little. However, the TLS-more parameters that you actually measure on your actual drivers actually mean something and give you much more power to figure out what sort of cabinet you want to build for your drivers. But that's a whole different issue. You have to basically buy the drivers first, measure them, and then figure out, optimize the cabinet for them. And that is actually the way that I recommend for everyone, that if you have a project, have it ready, get the drivers which are most suitable for the project, and after you purchase your drivers, then fine-tune your projects to the actual drivers. If you have a means to measure the TLS small parameters and adjust, compensate for those, that will give you absolutely tremendous power and will give you a lot of shortcuts to building the cabinet or the loudspeaker you really want, to optimize it to that degree. However, with my loudspeaker building history, I have only recently started using the in-house TLS small measurements to aid my experiences. What I've been doing for over 15 years in the beginning of my audio journey was strictly by ear. So design a cabinet, put the driver in. The design was with the help of TLS small, but not just TLS small, That was maybe like 20% of my consideration. 80% was other people's recommendations of what they have experienced with that cabinet. And it's a deliberation process that I put together all user feedback, measured it with the weight of the TLS-more parameters, and then pulled the trigger, built it, and based on what I heard, I modified the project based on my experiences. So that's how far I go with the TLS-more, and that's how far I went with the TLS-more when I recommended the drivers. And yes, I admit to it, and I think that I might have created a false illusion that TLS-more was my only consideration when I recommended the drivers, because that's what I went through mostly. That's what I focused on my recommendations. And however, what I did not really make clear during my recommendations is that one of the key aspects of choosing these drivers was cone excursion and sensitivity. So one thing that I have noticed with all speaker builds, regardless of cabinet types, regardless of which drivers are used, what sort of configuration, open buffer or sealed cabinet or whatever, I noticed that if the driver, I mean your cabinet as it is, it needs to be at least 91 dB sensitive. So 91 dB per watt meter, not the 22.83 volt per bullshit system, because that will mislead you by far. It will give you much artificially inflated values, and when you put it to real life test, you will be very disappointed. So 91 dB per watt meter, I found that this is the absolute minimum where that type of sound lives that I want to live with. When it's lower than that, you can have a lot of things with it, but that part of the sensitivity range is optimized for lower quality amplifiers, lower quality sources, thinking more mainstream, thinking more solid state. That's the generic world. And yes, I know many of you, I would say probably all of you, are coming from the generic world and trying to step up. But if you keep building loudspeakers that keep you trapped in the generic world, you will never be able to step up to that part of sound reproduction, which is not sound reproduction anymore, but musicality. And I know it also depends a lot on what are your music preferences. Most people are really happy with that type of mainstream sound. If you're looking for mainstream sound, then yes, your options are much wider, and go with generic recommendations. However, what I am shooting for is something that is totally, vastly underrepresented on YouTube and in the world of audio. So what I am trying to do here with this channel is steer you all towards a sound that is an entire world, a universe, a light year apart from that canned, mechanized, automatic mainstream sound that gives you show at best, give you fatigue at worst, but it always leaves you with an empty heart that you want to upgrade your system because it's never enough. So what I'm advocating here with my channel is to give you a system that fills your heart's desire, that gives you food for your soul and does not take away from your heart, so that you will become with the mainstream approach and what general examples and advice you are getting, you will have more and more hunger to because you will be pining for better and better sound that you will never achieve. What I am doing is I am done with this road. I don't give an F about this road. And yeah, I know it can sound really showy, really fantastic, but I don't care about it. I'm going for solutions that even if when I hear it, I know it could be much better. But after listening to an hour of music in that system, I feel that yes, this was an hour well spent. I have recovered from the stresses of the journey, and my soul is healed. I got what I needed, and this what recommendations I'm doing here, this project that I'm showing with you guys are my recommendations towards that road. And when I say that these are the drivers that will work in it, then these are the drivers that will bring you keep you on this road. It doesn't mean that if you choose something else it will not work. Yes, probably it will work very well, but will take you towards the mainstream path. And of course many of you want to stay there, and I'm sorry that I'm not giving recommendations for that. But here with the 3-inch drivers, that was not my main reason. That was not why I'm not recommending 3-inch drivers. I'm not recommending them because the Hiraga cabinet, it has a really big volume already, even for the 4-inch driver. And yes, it can handle it, and it will create a lot of bass because of that extreme, like 8 times bigger volume than recommended for the driver. Now, when we go for a little bit bigger driver, they will be happy to achieve that the working conditions in that cabinet, and they will not be stressed out to infinity. But if we go to a smaller dimension, we drop down to 3-inch, then the LePetit cabinet is way too big for a 3-inch driver. And to make a 3-inch driver work in LePetit, we would need to downscale the cabinet, drop it down. Why and how? So Hugo is talking about a tank band W3, a 3-inch tank band driver. So let's go. I will show in WinISD what I'm talking about. And I know this is a computer calculation working on TLS small parameters. So, but TLS small parameters for me do not indicate sound quality. They will indicate what will be the operational limitations of the speaker. Where you can go reasonably accurately with them is the cone excursion and just some generic behavior. So let's do. Here we have the LePetit open. So now what we will do is we will clone it, copy project, and now I will just click on back and forth between them because there's a glitch in WinISD that when you copy a project and you start modifying it, then you notice that the original was modified, and I just keep on swearing and cursing, but that's just something that if you do a lot of mods and it modified the wrong file, particularly if you have like 5 or 6 of them open, then it can be really frustrating that it puts a monkey wrench in your work if you have been working on it for hours and hours. So anyway, you can prevent it by just clicking a few times, and now you go to the driver selection and edit, and here we click on load. Maybe I just click on this because it's really tiny, and we choose tank band. Let's see what we have here. Scrolling down, scrolling down. Maybe can we scroll faster? Yes. Tank band, here they are. Okay, so it has only one tank band 3-inch driver. It doesn't have the one that Hugo recommended, but now I will not hunt down that tank band and keep and enter the tile small values because that would take like half an hour. So let's just keep the single tank band 3-inch driver selection that they have and hit save. And now what happened? Where are we? You see again, it put back the, or even though I was clicking back and forth, no, good. Just there was a glitch here that when I clicked on the original, then it showed the copy, not before. So WinISD, this is a freeware software. It was developed on the free time of this person who developed it. He didn't get any money for it, so don't expect it to be a commercial product. There are a few glitches, but it's fine. So let's give it red color to distinguish from LePetit. So the blue, this is LePetit's excursion, not excursion, transfer function magnitude. So the basically when we go through the frequency range from 500 Hertz down to 30 Hertz, which is the equivalent SPS. So it is like 0 dB and it's dropping down from 0 dB to whatever. And that's the LePetit. And actually when you put the LePetit in the actual room, it will have very strong 50 Hertz, very strong mid bass. And now when we put the 3-inch driver in it, it will actually have a better upper bass, like well, how much is that? Like a 1.5 dB or so, stronger between 200 Hertz and let's say about 80 Hertz. So that area will sound nicer, but in the LePetit cabinet. So yeah, Hugo has is right saying that 3-inch drivers have things to go for them. However, here we have the big problem. This is why it will not work in the LePetit cabinet, because at 50 Hertz, look at that, there's a gigantic peak there. It will have a peaky, boomy mid bass. So we have to even modify or scale to show it. So it's transfer function magnitude. Let's put him like plus 3 dB because it's off the scale. So where is it? So it's at plus 1 dB versus the minus 2.5 dB of the LePetit, minus 2 dB. So it will be 3 dB peak versus the LePetit. And it's not just 3 might be a little difference, but when you look at it, the difference between, let's just go here, so where it drops like minus 4.5 dB at what is that, 73 Hertz, and then we go to 48 Hertz plus 1 dB. How much is that? Plus 1, that's like 5.5 dB's difference. So you will notice that that plus 5.5 dB at 48 Hertz, it will be very peaky. And for some music, maybe like rock and roll, you might want that peakiness, and that might be preferable or pleasurable, but it's going to be very annoying on the long term. So when you put the 3-inch tank band in the LePetit cabinet and compare it to the original Fostex 103 Sigma recommendation, 4-inch recommendation, then you might even find it more pleasing to the ear, especially with rock and roll. But when you start playing multiple music with it, after half a year you will get bored with it, because you will start to notice that peakiness more and more, and it will start to bother you. And that's why the upgrade bug will keep on bugging you, and it will start itching after a while. And when you hear speakers that do not have this extremely sharp peak between those two, like the LePetit, you see it still has a peak, but the ramping up, you see that blue curve, it doesn't go like a sharp wave coming up. It's more like a nice wave. So it's something that you can match to your room much easily, much more gracefully, and that's one reason. So now the second reason to go against the 3-incher is, let's look at the SPL. So now this tells us that when we go for the LePetit, then let's click at the 500 Hertz. It's 90.75 dB per watt meter sensitivity. So it's roughly 91 dB sensitive. And yeah, when you go at the base, it's less than that, but your room is going to fill it up. And actually, even though this seems like under 0 dB, I mean under 91 dB, but with your room, it actually will be over 91 dB. So you can easily measure like 95 dB in your room. And that's the problem with this solution, that the room will add even more to that peak, and it will be just absolutely massively overloading the sound spectrum in the bass. And if you want that kind of bass, then yes, this is your choice, but for the majority of people, that's not what you want. However, if you want that, then yes, it is definitively your driver. And that's why I made this video, because if that's what you are missing, you want really strong like 55 to 45 hertz response, then the 3-inch tank band will give that to you, and even in excess to any of the 4-inch drivers that I have recommended to you. However, the price will be is that you will have the strong mid bass, which is almost as strong as that of the 103 Sigma, but the efficiency is much lower. Let's see how much it is. It is under 87 dB per watt meter, and that's something that will not sound dynamic. You will miss noticeably. You will miss out the dynamics of the Hiraga LePetit with the 103 Sigma, and that will really keep you in the mainstream sound universe, and that will not allow you to play with vacuum tube amplifiers. Of course, you can put a vacuum tube amplifier on it, but it's totally useless. It's like giving lead boots to a dancer. You will see the dancer move around, but you will just see the dancer move around to scrape the dance floor, to ruin the dance floor with the lead boots, and you will not see the dancer dance. You will see the dancer suffer and destroy the floor. So what you need is you need to put in weight lifters, which is solid state amplifiers, and yeah, they can run around, move around with those lead boots. They can lift them up, do bench presses and do things, and it has to be in a gym. So very different philosophies, very different goals, and just so that this when you use the 3-incher, then you are forced to use solid state amps, higher power amps, and you are going towards mainstream sound with a focus on rock and roll. And if you have diverse taste, you also listen to classical music, then this will be it will be a strike for you. If you don't care about classical, just rock and roll, pop music, then the 3-inch tank band. If you don't have ultimate amplification, then you will be very happy with the tank band. Yes. So that's what it goes for that. But let's see one more thing based on the TLS parameters why we have trouble with the 3-incher is that you see the cone excursion, the red curve is above the blue one, and then you might say, oh, it's not that much higher So I'm hitting it with 1 watt, and it just works a little bit harder. But the problem is that you are not looking at 1 watt output, you are looking at output at your listening volume. And if you want the same listening volume, then we at 1 watt, let's see with the LePetit, if we are hitting it with 1 watt, we are getting 91 dB. And now let's take it to a level where it starts to sound, if you want to listen to rock and roll, then 1 watt will not cut your mustard. Let's increase the LePetit to 4 watts, and then we have like 97 dB peak output. Yeah, you will start to enjoy some pop music and rock at that SPL. And now we have to bring the output of the 3-inch driver to the same way, because don't forget, the way that the output behaves, it will be suitable for rock and pop mostly. So if you want to enjoy it, then you need it to be able to deliver that sound pressure level. So basically then we need 10 watts for it to have that 97 dB SPR, which is 2.5 times higher power than what the 4-inch driver requires. And you see, you get the benefit that we are getting more mid bass there, around 50 hertz, but that's what we wanted. And now let's look at the cone excursion again during the effective listening demands. And now you see that the 3-incher now has a problem. We are asking it, like at 40 hertz, it has to move 8 millimeters with the cone. So yeah, that's why I'm not recommending it, because it has to move a lot. And even though it's built to move more, but if you are asking a driver to move that much, then you are starting to lose the benefits of the single driver. There is listening fatigue creeping up, because the cone will be less and less in the voice coil gap, and the high frequency response will be compromised. And that's why I'm recommending the 4.5-inch drivers, because they will give you better control over the cone, and they will give you less listening fatigue. And that was one of Jürgen's comments that he wrote to me, is that when he cranks the LePetit up, that's when it sounds absolutely stunning. But then he also hears listening fatigue creeping in, harshness in the highs. And that's because of the high cone excursion creating problems in the high frequencies. Now, when you go for a 4.5-inch driver, then this fatigue will creep up at higher SPRs. So you will be able to get to that level where it sounds great, but it doesn't fatigue yet. And if we go the other direction towards a 3-inch driver, then we are hitting this fatigue zone earlier. So you will start to get the fatigue creeping up way before you reach that area where it starts to sound smashing. So basically, while the 3-inch tank band has the potential to be an excellent rock and roll driver in the Hiraga cabinet, LePetit cabinet, in reality it will not work, because it cannot do that SPL without fatigue that we want it to perform, unless you are one of those extremely rare people who listens to rock and pop at quiet volumes. If you do that, and yes, there are people like that, and if you're one of those, then definitively the 3-inch tank bands will, or other drivers, will be an excellent choice for you as well. So now let's go back to the SPIs, and this actually, when you see that there's such a giant heap there, it's a sign that we are taxing the driver beyond its limits. So when you have something like this with a simulation, that's what it's showing you, that the cabinet volume is way too big for your choice. So if I were to build the 3-inch tank band, a cabinet for that, I would go for a smaller cabinet. So if we go for a 20-inch cabinet, 20-liter cabinet instead of the 26, then you see that the peak is getting smaller, but it's still there. Let's get even, I cannot see the keys, okay, 15 liters. Now with 15 liters, look who's talking, and let's just move the frequency, tuning frequency a little higher, 50 hertz. Maybe no, we can keep the tuning frequency 48 hertz. Tiny smaller cabinet. I'm just doing it on the fly here, there's nothing planned in here. 13 liters, look at that. With 13 liters, if you modify the Hiraga cabinet for a 3-inch tank band to half the size what it was, so now instead of the 26.5 liters, we bring it down to 13 liters, half the internal volume of the original cabinet, then the 3-inch tank band will work in it absolutely beautifully. And now it gets my 100% recommendation. So when I said I don't want 3-inch drivers in the Hiraga cabinet, it's not because I'm dissing a lot of the 3-inch drivers, but because the Hiraga cabinet is not the most suitable project for those drivers. And this is what it is. When we go for a much smaller cabinet, then it will give you what you want. And now let's look at the cone excursions. It's still quite high because we are looking at that high SPL, but it's just something that you just have to live with, that this is to drop the cabinet size is the way to create a frequency response that's much more, I would say, balanced, and the driver will be much happier working there. And also, this is a choice. It would be like maybe Le Mignon, like the petit, like the tiny petit, we could call it. Maybe I will make a separate video with the Le Mignon project, because as Thiago already said, that even the LePetit is too big for him. He can't put it in his home. He wants something smaller, and maybe, yeah, a tank band Le Mignon would be such a project that you can fit it in a tiny cabinet. So thank you, Hugo, for your valuable, fantastic comment. And I agree with you. 3-inch drivers have a tremendous potential. They do have their place, and they can be an absolute fantastic choice when you don't have the space for a cabinet, even for a smallish cabinet like LePetit. If you just have space for a tiny bookshelf with a 13-liter internal volume, then they are a wonderful choice, but we have to resize severely the Hiraga project to work optimally with them. So thank you. Please like, subscribe. I hope everyone learned something here. Bye bye.